I don't have anything written down in front of me, Connie. I don't know how to start here.
I'm gonna give you this computer.
It's Monday, March 17th. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll call to order the City of Brainerd Personnel and Finance Committee meeting, and we'll start with introductions.
Alderman at Large, Kevin Stunek.
Connie Hillman, Finance Director.
Sean Strong, Technology Director.
James Crombick, Community Development Director.
Kelly Bevins, City Council.
Tim Spire, Brainerd Dispatch.
Chris Schubert, HR Director.
Jesse Dean, City Engineer.
And Gabe Johnson, Chair of the committee. We have 6 items tonight, the first of which is to authorize the Technology Department renovations using PEG channel funds. Sean.
So tonight we have a couple of items or situations that are coming together, in my opinion, fairly favorably. We have some expenses that were going to occur in the integration of the technology department that weren't budgeted for because the budget was set before the integration was decided on. And we have a PEG channel that's not being staffed appropriately, so recommending that we withhold funds that cover a good portion of those expenses. So the recommendation for you to consider is whether or not to go ahead with the withholding of the funds to the cable channel for lack of labor, and to use that towards the expenses that we're going to incur integrating.
I would agree with that. I make that motion.
I second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? I have two really. This would have been helpful before we decided to integrate. Connie, make note, finance integration is on the agenda sometime in the future. What type of expenses are we going to incur just incidental with office spaces and whatever? That would be nice to know up front. I do support the motion. Secondly, since the technology department is the technology department for all of our general funds and all of our enterprise funds, we shouldn't be taking just the PEG channel money. I think there should be some enterprise funds cost sharing into this. There will be? Okay. Any other discussion?
I mean, some of this stuff is just for City Hall, like adding the door keys, that kind of stuff, to make our facility, to have room to house them. But I would say like the desks and the laptops and the software will be split out between the utility and the city.
Maybe we can get a grant from the Lakes Area Media Collaborative.
Since we're trying to build out this
Get some more money
television
back.
thing.
Interest free?
It's a grant, man. Yeah, there's no interest in it.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. That motion carries. Discuss orderly annexation of Riverside Drive, James.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll start this off. So city staff have held meetings with Crow Wing County staff regarding the proposed annexation of a portion of Riverside Drive. All properties proposed for annexation are in unorganized first assessment territory. So the way this process works is one or more municipalities by joint resolution with the county may designate an unincorporated area in which there is no organized township or government as in need of orderly annexation. It is then reviewed by an administrative law judge. After that, so that's just kind of designating the area, then an orderly annexation agreement would have to be formulated and approved by both parties. At least 10 days before the municipality or township adopts an orderly annexation agreement, a notice must be published in the newspaper. Upon receipt of a resolution for annexation of part of the designated area, the chief administrative law judge shall set a time and place for a hearing in accordance with state statute section 414.09. With that, I'll turn it over to Connie to discuss the rural service district.
So we've had attached in the packet was a policy that was adopted in 1995. Staff's interpretation and how the policy has been applied, that if a property is annexed in and water and sewer is available, then the property will be placed in the urban service district. If not available, then the rural service district. Once water and sewer does become available, then it moves to the urban service district as well. The last time the property was added or subtracted from the rural service district was in 2020, when the property with the address of 9089 Del Mar Drive was added to the rural service district. The resident was requesting to be added to the rural service district because he was not served by city water and sewer.
And that is when I asked to get rid of the rural service district. So here we are, March 17th, 2025.
Right on. Right on that.
And if you'd like to know, Jesse Dean is here to discuss which areas are currently not serviced by those utilities. If you have questions.
I do,
Okay.
but I wanna back up to Gabe's thing.
Yeah.
Because that's part of where you started your presentation. Not because I think it's the most important issue. Because I almost disagree with you. And here's why. I happen to know that person on Delmar Drive. And they have property, sizable property, and they don't have access to sewer and water. And they got annexed under somewhat unfortunate circumstances. We had a council member that thought that that was the best thing to do for the city of Brainerd and went on an annexation spree. And the only fair way at the time that we could come up with to handle people like that was to give them a break on their taxes. Yes, it's a classification of tax. So, and I kind of think that because I think you have people, not only on Delmar, but in other places that are already in the city of Brainerd due to those circumstances, that would probably complain if they had to pay full rate taxes. I mean, the property is basically, I don't wanna say it's non-usable or non-developable, but it certainly doesn't have access to sewer and water, so that makes it harder. So I might disagree with you on that, to give them a break. Because they're already in the city, so they're kind of they're stuck.
So I think we're in agreement. I'm already at the middle ground with it, where I want to eliminate it for future use, but everybody we've given this to promised it to.
Yep.
We shouldn't go back on that.
I would agree with you 100% on that, to no longer in the future use the rural services district. As far as the orderly annexation agreement, somebody read that out of the book. I don't think that's anything of pertinence to this issue. The issue, and I sent the email to you and then it got passed on to Jesse. I thought the issue is we changed our deferred assessment policy to include interest in perpetuum. I think that we need to relook at our connection fees for those people like the guy last year who annexed in, and the question I asked Jesse or James was, I can't remember what the initial connection fee was. I want to say it was $30,000 or something like, it was something astronomical, and we cut it back to 2017's amount, I think. Does that make sense? That's
11,300. Yeah.
How much?
Like 11,300.
Like 11,300. And if I was in the city of Brainerd and had to pay an assessment plus interest higher than 11,300, and I'll pretty much guarantee a property sized lot, similar sized lot would be a lot more than 11,300, I'd be pissed. That connection fee should stay consistent with an equal sized lot of somebody who's been in the city of Brainerd since the project. And that was my comment on re-looking at this, not the procedure for going through an orderly annexation, although I understand you may want to have it all as one unit. I don't think you answered my questions at all. How much should it be based on the assessment policy we developed, in the connection fee policy that we developed in 2005 or whatever it was? What was the attorney thinking when he came up with the fact that if you, on the assessed properties, the deferred assessments, that if you sell the property, you don't have to pay off the assessments. Everybody has to do that, but not Country Manor. And that isn't fair, although the council said it was fair, 6-1. But I would disagree that that is not fair. We could have raised what we gave them to cover the thing, but they still should have, the person who sold the property should have paid for it. If I have an assessment on my house, I can't transfer that assessment, can I?
No.
No. But if you're Country Manor, you can stick it to every other taxpayer. That isn't fair.
So I say that the buck stopped with Country Manor, they are paying it.
No, the buck stopped with the people who sold it to Country Manor. They should have been ordered to pay it at the time of closing. I have to do that, Gabe has to do that, everybody has to do that, but not on Riverside Drive.
Right.
So those are my issues, not the assessment, not the orderly annexation policy with Crow Wing County.
Right, and that is still coming, or the assessment policy is still coming.
And the connection fees need to be part of that,
Right.
because
Yeah.
if we're gonna go with this annexation, we need to be prepared with connection fees and let people know where
Yeah.
they're at.
And you need to look at what people are paying on original assessments plus interest, which now includes interest on, so they stay the same and they move at the same rate. So 10 years from now, since obviously these are eternal, which it just shocks me, and I was part of the council, so I'll take the blame. But, you know, you don't want somebody paying their assessment plus interest 10 years from now and having it be twice as much as somebody who wasn't in the project in the first place. That isn't fair.
And I think we're getting a little bit confused between Beaver Dam and Riverside Drive. Riverside Drive had the connections, Beaver Dam had the assessments.
You don't think there's people in Beaver Dam that aren't in the city of Brainerd? I can take you to a house right now, right next to Chuck, right next to Mark O'Day's father's house, where Mark O'Day lives now, right next door. He's in the city of Brainerd, or outside of the city of Brainerd, but in the city of Brainerd. The sewer and water goes right in front of him. And that's not on Beaver Dam.
Okay, so we'll have to look into it more, I guess.
The map is in there.
No.
Roll it up to the map. You can see the map. You can see where all the non-city of Brainerd properties are. All that clear stuff going right down to the river.
All the red stuff.
Or, no, the red stuff is city of
The red
Brainerd.
stuff is-
Is
Red
it?
stuff is not city of Brainerd.
Not city of Brainerd. There's a ton.
The red areas are the areas that we're proposing with the orderly annexation.
Yeah, but there's gonna be connection fees involved, and they have to be comparable to people who paid their assessment or didn't pay their assessment, deferred it, plus the interest. They have to be, otherwise you get a tremendous advantage for hanging out as long as possible.
So I think what we're trying to discuss tonight is, what do we do from here? Do we proceed with the orderly annex? Do you want to amend the policy? What do we want to do here? So right now.
Or get rid of the policy was your option.
Right,
as
and
well.
then if we eliminate the rural service district, how do we handle the current parcels? This is what is on here, is how we handle annexation. If they put them in the rural service district, urban service district. Some of these parcels don't have water and sewer available, some do. So how do you want us to proceed?
I would like to see us amend the policy to eliminate the RSD going forward, but honoring the promises we made in the past.
Yep,
I can
I would
do that.
agree,
I can
and I
do
would
that.
like to also put together an orderly annexation policy for those people not in the city of Brainerd. Now, obviously, if they're not on sewer and water, there's no connection fee. So they're saying, whatever that connection fee is, and golly, I think it was 20 grand.
It was over 20
It
grand.
was over 20 grand last time we did this, which was the guy at the end of, or the guy on Riverside Drive. It was expensive. But he's still way behind, still way below, at 11,003, he's way below somebody who paid their assessment or hasn't paid their assessment plus interest. He got a heck of a deal sitting outside the city of Brainerd forever, for 15 years. And that isn't fair either. Of course, he didn't have sewer and water either. He did, it was sitting out there. He just didn't hook up to
Until
it.
he decided to hook up.
Decided to hook up. So I think the whole thing should go forward. I think what Gabe said should move. I think we should have a policy with Crow Wing County. I think we should have, we've already adjusted the interest rates on deferred assessments. I think we need to figure out where the right connection fee is, because this is an annexation. This is people who are not in the city of Brainerd. I think if you come into the city of Brainerd and you happen to be at a property with no city and with no sewer and water, then obviously you don't have to connect. You don't have it. But you will pay an assessment once it goes up there.
Can I ask a question? So when I'm looking at that little chart that you have up there, it shows what they would be paying if they're in unorganized territory. And I can't read it from here, it's like $200. If they are put into the city in the rural service district at 52%, they're gonna be paying $768. So they're gonna be paying $500 more for no more services. They're not getting water or sewer. And if they do have the water and sewer, is this right, James? And then they're going up to
Well, but all you're
If they do have
saying, Chris,
available- if they
is
do
the
have
city
available.
government wastes money exponentially higher than the county government does. That's all you're saying.
No, I wouldn't say that. They have different expenses, being in a first assessment district versus a city.
Right, they get a police department.
And I just wanted,
And snow
my
plowing.
thought was, why would someone annex if they're gonna have to pay
Well, they probably wouldn't.
$500 more?
They probably wouldn't, and they don't. So this is really a moot point.
But if we go with the orderly annexation, we're just agreeing with the county to take the properties whether they want to be in or not.
So they would have to adopt a joint resolution, otherwise it becomes contested.
They wouldn't, the county and the city.
The county.
Yeah.
The county. and
The
city,
county
yeah.
represents the unorganized
Yeah,
territory.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So staff, I guess, is looking, for direction. Recommendation is to not proceed with orderly annexation if we have the rural service district policy that we want to revisit and amend, as well as we're working through the other policy. So it would be staff's recommendation to not proceed with orderly annexation until those things are cleared up.
Okay, let's get a motion to clear up the
That's what I
connection
wanted,
fees
yeah.
and the rural service district.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to move forward on eliminating the rural service district in the future and setting the connection fees for setting the table for an orderly annexation process in Riverside Drive. Yeah.
And just to provide clarification too, we keep saying 50%, 52%, 52%. The actual rural service district rate for 2024 was just under 31%. It's 52% of the city's rate plus the amount for our debt levy. So when we say it's not 52%, it's 52% of the city's general tax rate plus debt. Just a clarification.
I think this is a moot point, because I don't think anybody, and I'm not being disrespectful about how wonderful the city of Brainerd is, but nobody's gonna annex in without sewer and water. Why, I mean, I'm
What's the
sorry,
point?
it hasn't happened yet except for where Sheeler forced them to. Right? I mean, it isn't, it hasn't since I've been in my 22 years. Nobody's come up and said, boy, I'd really like to pay more taxes to be in the city of Brainerd without sewer and water. They all want sewer and water. That's why we ran it out to the airport.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Next up, ratify the hiring of Courtney DeShane. Chris,
So we received 41 applications for our police records management tech position with 10 candidates interviewed. We offered the position to Courtney DeShane, who started with us on March 5th at step 1, which is $25.32 per hour. We recommend ratifying her hiring.
I so move.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. I'll note again, there were 41 applications for the job, so people are interested in working for the city.
Just not annexing in.
They don't want to live here, they don't want to pay for the people to work here, but they would love to work here. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Next up, ratify the Aaron Anderson reclassification, Chris.
So on March 3rd, the council approved an MOA with the Administrative Support Union setting the wages for our technology department. All vacant positions were posted internally and one employee applied for the technology coordinator position. Staff recommends to reclassify Aaron Anderson to the tech coordinator position effective March 18th. Further, that he be placed on step 7 of the tech coordinator wage grid. A couple things to note. Typically, our employee policy manual requires that the employee be placed on a step that is at least 3% higher than their current wage because he's already being paid at step 7 and he's on that same grid. We can't follow that practice. Just bringing that to your attention. The other thing is currently Mr. Anderson is exempt from overtime in his previous technology supervisor position with the integration into the single technology department. And since the coordinator position is represented by the union, he will now be eligible for overtime per the union contract provisions. Staff's recommendation is to reclassify Aaron Anderson to the technology coordinator position effective March 18th, and then he can be placed on step 7.
I so move.
Second,
Any discussion?
I have a question. Do you think and really I wish Sean was here. What do you think the expected overtime will be?
We don't know for sure.
He
We've talked-
knows.
Aaron does some.
It'll be significant until we fill those
Correct.
vacant
Yeah.
positions.
And part of what we do, this union contract does allow some flexible use of time as well. So if they need to work a night, maybe they can come in a little bit later depending on what their schedule is.
Got it.
They don't have to be paid overtime, it's up to the employee if they want to or not, so.
Got it.
It's up to them if they want time
And the
and a half or not.
supervisor has to mutually
What do you
agree.
think?
Well, some people don't.
They would rather have the time off.
They'd rather have the.
Oh, take the comp time instead of.
It's that
Yeah.
life-work balance thing.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Next up, let's ratify a contract.
November 19th, an arbitration hearing was held regarding our 2024 through 2026 IDW contract representing the public utility employees. On January 30th, we received arbitrator Kelly's decision. In addition, during mediation on August 16th, the city and the union reached a tentative agreement on several other items. The recommended action is to ratify the attached tentative agreement summary and arbitrator Kelly's decision regarding the contract, and to adopt a resolution setting the 24 through 26 wages for this union.
I have one question, Mr. Chair. Does this go retroactive?
Yes.
Why did they do that?
Um,
This
We
benefits.
got the wages, Kelly, come on.
I know. I know, but it just seems like it's benefiting, it's rewarding belligerents. I'm just
So
suggesting.
one thing that we put in the tentative agreement is they had to be an active employee. So if someone has left since January of 2024, they
They
will
get
not
that.
get the back pay.
Got
So
it.
that is something that we have put also into our employee policy manual now as well.
This is more me just being crappy, not speaking against. I would move that we sign this.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and I don't disagree with you at all, but we got the big win, we got the
Yeah.
wages, and we got what needed to be done to keep
Yeah.
moving in the right direction.
Thank you, team.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, that motion carries. Crow Wing County Historical Society donation, Connie.
Yes. So, the Historical Society has requested a donation from the city of Brainerd. Donations by a city are prohibited unless specifically authorized by statute or charter. There was information in the packet, and a donation to a historical society is allowed. In fact, we can donate up to 0.02418% of estimated market value for a historical society. The letter from the Historical Society does not request a specific amount. Historically, the city has donated $500, as you can see from the history. Although the donation is not specifically budgeted for in 2025, it could be paid out of the special project budget line item, which was budgeted at $28,000 for 2025. Nothing has been spent or allocated from this budget as we have done in the past, is where we paid this out from in the past.
Haven't we
So,
spent some of that money? I thought we spent some of that money.
not this year, we haven't.
Okay. Well, what do you got, Kevin?
I make a motion, we donate the 500.
Second,
Any discussion?
I just thought it was hilarious that they sent a 17-page request with all the documentation as to why we can give them money and don't ask for it.
That is
Then they don't
me.
ask for it.
I gave you all the documentation. They only sent the letter.
And they still didn't ask for it.
All they sent was the one-page letter. I was giving you all the information as to why we can donate.
So they could do the calculation of our tax rate and blah, 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 what our maximum is, and ask for probably significantly more.
Almost, just under 296,000 would be our max.
That'd be a lot of money.
How much?
296,000?
To the Historical Society?
Would be allowed.
We should get a plaque.
Or
Just per
statute.
state statute, you can do the percentage and our estimated market value is just $297,000.
I like
We're getting off
that.
easy with $500.
Well, we actually, if you look back there, there's some 300s and 400s. We just didn't have the money.
All in favor of 500, say aye.
Aye.
We had to
That
send
motion
those
carries.
checks to Lakes Area Media Collaborative.
Yeah, we